Hello everybody. In this episode of Unravelling Autism, I will be looking at applied behavior analysis, also commonly known as ABA therapy. So what is applied behavior analysis? Firstly, it is a scientific discipline that is based on behavioral psychology, and it was developed by a psychologist called Lovas in the 60s. It helps us to understand human behavior, and it resulted in a special form of therapy or teaching that is now commonly known as ABA. The therapy uses special techniques to change the behavior of children with autism and to teach them new skills. The therapy can also be used to help children with other developmental disabilities, example, children who have Down syndrome. The purpose of ABA is to impart or improve various skills such as communication skills, social skills, play skills, life skills, and academic skills. The therapy also helps children with autism to regulate their own behavior, example, to control their own anxiety or anger, and also to improve their attention. How does ABA teach new behaviors and skills? Firstly, it breaks down desirable skills and behaviors into their smallest steps and then teaches each step in sequence to the child. It rewards a child for completing each step, and with rewards increases the likelihood of the child repeating the behavior. For example, you give a child a piece of cookie for labeling a picture, and he will learn in future to label items on request. It involves the use of a discrete trial where a stimulus is presented, the child responds, and the child is then rewarded for a correct response or a partial response. It can also include incidental teaching in the child's natural environment, example, teaching combined with play in the garden rather than in a formal setting such as at a table. Over time, these individual skills learned can combine into more complex behaviors. For example, the child can move from learning words to communicating with single words, then to communicate using phrases, and then to communicate in full sentences. What are some of the components of an ABA program? To assess the child's skills as well as his difficulties and challenges, to set goals that will benefit the child, for example, to learn specific words that will allow him to express his needs and wants in the home, example words such as juice, chicken, outside, play, snack. To create a teaching program that will incorporate the goals identified, and to evaluate the child's progress to see whether the goals are being met, and then to revise the goals or to add new goals as appropriate. What are some of the teaching techniques used? Therapists use verbal operants to teach new behaviors and skills to a child. Echoics. The child will learn to repeat a sound or a word spoken by the therapist. For example, the therapist says, "Say ball," and the child says ball. Receptives. The child responds to an instruction but does not speak himself. Example, the therapist says, "Point to the ball," and the child points to the ball. Tacts. The child is taught to label items physically present. Example, the child sees a cat and then says cat. Intraverbals. The child learns to speak about something even though it is not physically present. Example, the child says outside. Mans. The child learns to make requests to express his needs and wants. Example, want to play outside. Children are prompted in the teaching process. If the child says part of the word, the therapist will say the rest of it for him. This is called errorless teaching. What are some of the skills usually taught in an ABA program? Cooperation and reinforcement. For example, the child learns to sit at a table, to work, and then to take a reward. Visual performance. For example, matching a picture to an object or completing a jigsaw puzzle. Imitation. Example, the therapist claps and the child imitates by clapping as well. Following receptive instructions. Example, the therapist says, show me the apple, and the child points to or touches the apple. Vocal imitation. The child imitates a word or phrase spoken by the therapist. Requests. The child makes requests of others by using words or a choice board. Labeling. The child is taught to label an item as well as its features, functions, and class. Example, a car will be labeled. It will be identified as green, as being transport, as having wheels and windows. Play skills and social interaction. Following instructions in a group or classroom. Reading, math, writing skills, gross and fine motor skills, example, completing an obstacle course or sewing or beading. Dressing, eating, grooming, and toileting skills. In recent years, there has been a lot of controversy around the use of ABA therapy. Let's look at some of the positives of ABA. A limited body of research has shown that ABA can improve an autistic child's communication, cognitive and behavior skills, but aspects such as literacy, math competency, and physical well-being have not been fully researched. However, the general consensus in the field of psychology and therapy is that ABA does work. Many parents do credit ABA with helping their children in ways that they could not do themselves. Some children, provided that they have an aptitude for it, can reach some educational or academic milestones when supported by ABA programs, for example, completion of one or more grades in school settings. With more communication, behavior, and social skills acquired during ABA training, autistic children will have better quality of life and can participate functionally in varying degrees in family, community, and social activities. In some countries, example the USA, the cost of certified ABA therapy may be funded by medical insurance. Negative perceptions and aspects. Many people, including autistic adults, have said that ABA does not respect the differences of an autistic child, that it is designed to force the child to conceal his autism and to fit in with society by behaving and speaking in neurotypical ways. ABA, it is said, does not respect neurodiversity and tries to force autistic children to be normal and, as a result, to feel ashamed of their own autism. Children spend anything from between 20 to 40 hours a week in therapy, doing hundreds of rigid drills, mostly at a table. They may not have the time or the opportunity to enjoy their childhood, some people believe. Many ABA programs may seek to control or reduce stimming. Stimming is a repetitive behavior such as rocking or hand flapping. Stimming can be calming for autistic children and also helps to reduce their anxiety. Some programs may include elements of punishment, though this is less common today. Children may learn skills or behaviors in therapy but may not know how to use those skills in the real world. Children with autism struggle to interact socially. A program may teach them certain stock phrases such as "hello, my name is," or "how are you?" But beyond this, they may not learn to interact in a fluid way with others and therefore may still fail to develop normal relationships. The constant association of behavior to rewards is not always agreed with, and some people believe that children must act in response to an inner motivation in order to thrive. The holding out of morsels of food to a child to get a response is not appreciated or considered respectful. ABA works well with more classically challenged children, but it may be less effective to help high-functioning children or adults who do communicate well and require less support. My personal experience. When my daughter was diagnosed with autism, we enrolled her in a verbal behavior program. Verbal behavior is a form of ABA that includes the teaching of functional language and the use of natural environment teaching. We aimed for and did achieve about 20 hours of therapy a week. She was already 6 years old by then, and in the first month, she cried a lot as she adjusted to the therapy, and she struggled to adapt to the new routine and the therapy. At the age of 7, she also enrolled in a remedial school, and she remained there till grade 7. In due course, the program helped her significantly and in many ways. She learned many more words, she asked for more things, she commented on her environment, she learned to speak to us in basic ways, and she began to read. Later on, her communication skills improved significantly. even though she still struggled in conversations and was never able to catch up with her peers. Her quality of life improved because she could communicate better, could function better, and participated more meaningfully in all routines and activities. Although play skills and social skills were listed as goals in her program, I don't believe that ABA was able to assist us in developing these areas. The program increased her verbal repertoire and helped in the teaching of academic skills such as reading, math, and writing, and therefore provided us with support in respect of her formal schooling targets. She struggled with all aspects of comprehension throughout her schooling career. ABA helped with the development of functional communication, but it could not help her to acquire an understanding of the symbolic or inferential aspects of language, which is essential for higher learning. She enjoyed maths but found certain parts of maths, such as word problems and algebra, difficult. My daughter still struggles to interact socially, and conversations remain a challenge for her, even though she is able to converse on a wide range of topics. For this reason, developing long-term friendships with peers is still difficult for her. Tasks that are complex and involve many steps or aspects remain difficult for her. An example of this would be to be able to bake a cake independently. She developed a love of art at an early age and is currently studying towards the completion of an art diploma through a correspondence college. My views. Any form of teaching or therapy, including ABA, depends on many factors. Let's look at some of these factors. The kind and quality of assessment undertaken, whether the program devised is suitable to address the child's needs, and whether it is reviewed and revised often. The experience and teaching methods of the therapist or teacher, whether the family of the child spends time with and interacts with the child and can help with the generalization of concepts taught. Whether the program seeks to address key aspects of the disability, example, communication abilities, social skills, and the development of a wide range of functional skills and behaviors to improve quality of life. The number and quality of the hours dedicated to therapy and teaching, for example 20 hours per week, will be more beneficial than 2 or 3 hours per week. I think that different kinds of therapies may benefit a child in a number of ways if the therapy addresses all or most of these factors. Parents need to look carefully at any program, its teaching methods, what it is offering, and what results it is able to achieve. Thank you for listening. My next video will be about the floor time model as a type of therapy to help autistic children.